topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to Powerful Business Strategies, where you will find out that everything you have ever learned about growing your business is wrong. Finally, a show where you'll learn the right way to grow your business by learning business and financial strategies that your competition isn't doing. And now, here is your host, President of Next Step CFO, Michael Barbarita. And joining Michael for today's show as an executive moderator is Chucky Obia.
Welcome to Powerful Business Strategies. And by the way, today is St. Patrick's Day. I am wearing green, so I've got that covered. But the reason why you don't hear the more invigorating voice of Chucky Obia welcoming you to the show is because Chucky and his wife recently had their first baby. It was a daughter, and they welcomed Chelsea to the world. So congratulations to Chucky and his wife. He will be on leave for a little while. So in the meantime, my name is Michael Barbarita. I'm president of Next Step CFO, and Next Step CFO is a fractional CFO and strategic implementation firm. Business owners hire us to double and triple their profit using business and financial strategies that their competition isn't doing. Our vision is to ensure overwhelmed business owners achieve the time freedom and consistent profits to build a legacy and the life that they desire. Our mission is dedicated to guiding small business owners to leveraging their time, exploding their profits, and building a meaningful legacy. The show Powerful Business Strategies in our book of the same name is a step toward accomplishing that vision and mission. And Chucky and I are both affiliated with a number of different organizations. Chucky currently serves as a managing director of business development for Vedder Price, which is a global business-focused law firm. And in addition to that, Chucky and I collaborate to moderate business roundtables around the country and around the world and document those insights as part of our book, Powerful Business Strategies. But please note that the views expressed on this show are our personal views based on our own successful experiences. And this is something that I'd like to share that I've announced the last few weeks. If you have a business problem that you'd like us to answer, or a business question or a strategy that you'd like to ask us about, please email us at ask@nextstepcfo.net. That's ask@nextstepcfo.net. Doesn't matter what the business problem is or what the question is, and we'll just answer it for you. But there are a couple of things that we do ask. Number one, please state whether it's something we can answer on the air, or if it's confidential, let us know. And of course, if it's confidential, we won't put it on the air. And number two, please provide your phone number, because business problems can be complex and we might need more context or clarity. That email address again is ask@nextstepcfo.net. And I also want to point out that we've had questions, but they have requested confidentiality, which of course we will always honor. You know, throughout history, the most extraordinary success stories weren't written during times of ease and abundance. They were forged in the crucible of challenge and uncertainty. When the winds of economic change blow fiercely, remember this truth: diamonds are created under pressure. Steel is strengthened by fire. And the most resilient, innovative businesses are often those that navigated through economic storms, not those that sailed only in fair weather. Right now, somewhere in your market, a business owner is looking at the same economic landscape you are. But while others see only threat, the exceptional few recognize disguised opportunity. They understand that economic contractions don't just test businesses, they reveal which ones are built on solid foundations. You know, during the Great Depression, IBM expanded. During the 2008 recession, Netflix grew its subscriber base by 20%. These weren't accidents. They were the result of leaders who refused to retreat when others did. Today, I challenge you to be that exceptional business owner, the one who sees possibility where others see problems. Because when this economic cycle inevitably turns, as all cycles do, it won't be the business that simply survived that thrives. It'll be the one that used this moment to innovate, that used this moment to strengthen foundations, and that used this moment to capture market share, while all others pulled back. Remember that tough times don't last. Tough business owners do. The reason why I'm having this show today is because some of my clients are telling me that their customers are pulling back, that they're postponing large projects, they're ordering less, they're more price conscious or downsizing what they used to do. At the moment, it's not all clients and it's not all industries, but it is fascinating to note that the ones who are not feeling the effects are doing some of the things that I will talk about today. You know, when storm clouds gather on the horizon, most captains head for the harbor. They seek safety, battening down the hatches, hoping merely to survive the coming tempest. But throughout history, the successful navigators have done something different. They prepared their vessels to sail boldly into the storm. The same is true in business. Economic downturns don't create or destroy opportunity. They merely transfer it from the unprepared to the prepared. While others retreat, the visionary business owner understands that the greatest opportunities often emerge during the most challenging times. And remember, more millionaires and billionaires have been created during economic contractions than any other time period in history. Why is that? Well, because downturns separate those who built businesses on solid foundations from those who haven't. They separate those who are prepared from those who simply hoped for the best. Today, I want to challenge you to be among the prepared, to be the business owner who not only weathers the storm, but harnesses its power to propel your business forward. Because the question isn't whether you can afford to prepare for an economic downturn, it's whether you can afford not to. So today, we're diving deeper into a topic that's on many business owners' minds these days: how to prepare for and thrive during an economic downturn. You know, business is terrifying, and it's terrifying because we're responsible for so many other people's lives. And the scariest thing about business is that when you wake up in the morning, we really never know what to expect. And this uncertainty is amplified during economic downturns, when traditional wisdom says to cut back, preserve cash, and essentially go into survival mode. But today, our objective is to give you something different. Financial and business strategies that your competition isn't doing that'll help you thrive during economic downturns, reducing the terror and uncertainty of business. So let me be clear from the outset. You can never really be ready for an economic downturn, but you can be prepared. And our job as business owners is to be prepared to adapt. This means to be flexible, to change. You know, what I find is that many are resistant to change and therefore don't adapt. And that's why so few thrive during economic downturns. And as we all know, business is always changing. And this is true now more than ever. You know, just a short time ago, interest rates were low and many industries were having record years. But with interest rates, staying relatively high, higher than we're accustomed to, credit card delinquencies rising, personal savings in decline, and now tariffs being introduced, many industries are now facing some significant uncertainty. And as a fractional CFO and profit growth strategist, I see this uncertainty every day. And so business owners ask me three critical questions. Number one, why are some companies winning while others are struggling? Secondly, what are the winning companies doing differently? And third, how can I win during an economic downturn? So today, we're going to answer these questions comprehensively, and we'll explore proven strategies that have helped businesses not just survive, but thrive during previous recessions and economic contractions. So In our first segment, we'll discuss the foundational mindset and preparation needed to prosper during downturns, starting with laser focused on your personal goals and leveraging a visionary mindset rather than falling into survival thinking. In our second segment, we'll dive deep into financial clarity, understanding your numbers and using tools like the business and cash flow forecast to make data-driven decisions when others are guessing. Finally, in our third segment, we'll explore specific business strategies that successful companies implement during downturns, from strategic pricing approaches to smart cost management that actually fuels growth. And what's particularly exciting about today's show is that most of your competitors will be doing exactly the wrong things during an economic downturn. While they're cutting indiscriminately and retreating from the market, you'll be strategically positioned to capture market share, attract top talent, and build a foundation for exponential growth when the economy recovers. So grab that pen and paper because you're about to discover how economic downturns can become your greatest business opportunity. And remember, if you're driving, don't grab that pen and paper and listen to the replay at powerfulbusinessstrategies.com. So let's dive into that first critical component of thriving during an economic downturn. Having the right foundation and mindset to make strategic decisions while others panic. So winning business owners during economic downturns have a laser focus on their number one goal. But here's the key distinction. I'm not talking about their number one business goal. I'm talking about their number one personal goal for themselves and their families. Because this is not only their why, but this would be their greatest motivation to adapt and to be flexible to change. You know, great CEOs always start by understanding their personal goals and motivations and understanding what's really important to you and your family. I don't know about you, but it's important to me that my business serves me, not the other way around. And that's really the basis of this show. You know, I don't want you to feel like a slave to your business, especially during these challenging economic times that may be coming, because the pressure increases exponentially, as you all know. Now, before you can start to do tactical things, you must strategically understand, why am I doing this? Where am I headed? And what does success look like for me? And that, by the way, this is not in your business. This is in your life, because I've seen this mistake happen over and over again. And a lot of you are in the position right now where you get so excited to make your impact in the world that you jump out there and you create a business. And now all of a sudden you're fitting your life around this business thing that you created. So the way it should work is that you create the life you want and let the asset, which is the business, serve you, allowing you to get to that life. I hope that makes sense, because that's a critical start to any handling of an economic downturn. So we must start by setting our personal goals first, then moving to our business goals. And with respect to our business goals, it's net profit goals first, then revenue goals. Revenue goals without net profit goals are useless during a downturn. You want more take-home pay? You need more profit. You want to pay down debt? What do you need? You need more profit. Want to hire somebody like a manager or an administrative person? You certainly need more profit. This focus on profitability rather than just top-line revenue becomes even more critical during economic contractions. So I got a question from a listener. Many business owners get caught up in survival mode during downturns. I agree. How can they maintain this focus on personal goals when everything seems to be just keeping the business afloat? Well, that's a great question. So the key is to create what I call a priorities pyramid. At the top of your pyramid is personal, the why, the specific lifestyle, the freedom, the time freedom, or impact that your business that you want to create for your business, that you want your business to create, I should say. And during turbulent times, Start each week by reviewing this personal vision, then work backward to identifying the specific business actions that support it. This keeps you from getting lost in reactive mode. For example, if family time is a core personal goal, you might prioritize business strategies that increase profitability through systems rather than through your personal time investment. This approach ensures that even your survival strategies align with your deeper personal objectives. Next, winning business owners in economic times have a visionary mindset. In economic downturns. They have a visionary mindset. It's easy to get sucked into the doom and gloom of a downturn. It's easy to go into scarcity mode. Don't do that. Yes, the economy is changing, but the world isn't ending. We need to adapt, not shut down. Avoid scarcity-based decisions and make visionary decisions. Think about the impact of your decisions next quarter, next year, 5 years from now. Make decisions that will serve you well in the long run. Don't just think about those short-term implications with the economic downturn. Because when we think about the vision of our companies, it inspires us. This inspiration is crucial fuel during challenging times. Remember, your mindset isn't just about positivity. It directly impacts the strategic choices that you make. Let me give you a concrete example of how this works. So during the 08-09 recession, I worked with two similar companies in the same industry. Company A went into defense mode, cutting marketing, laying off talent, doing terrible margin business just to keep people busy and essentially trying to wait out the recession. Versus Company B, who took a different approach. They maintained their marketing while optimizing it for a better return on investment. They retained their top performers, and they actually invested in new product development. By 2011, Company A had survived, but was struggling to regain momentum. They'd lost market share. Their staff was demoralized, and they had no innovation pipeline. Company B emerged from the recession with increased market share, a motivated team, and new offerings that positioned them for explosive growth during the recovery. The difference wasn't their circumstances, it was their mindset and the strategic decisions that flowed from it. So this visionary mindset must be paired with solid financial clarity. Now, this part might freak out some of you because I know a lot of you aren't doing it. We have assessed over 100 business owners, and when we ask 3 basic financial questions, the vast majority of these business owners just don't know the answers. So winning business owners make the right decisions in economic downturns because they make decisions based on the numbers and the data. When times are good, you'll get by. Yeah, you'll get by not looking at this stuff. Not effective still, but you'll get by. But to win in an economic downturn, you must make decisions based on the numbers. And to start with, I've tried to do the best I could to isolate the vital 5 numbers that you need to know and that should be with you at all times. And just by knowing these 5 numbers, this isn't a big lift here, guys and girls. Just by knowing these 5 numbers, you'll be able to make better business decisions. By understanding what your sales are, what your gross profit is in terms of the absolute dollars, what your gross profit percentage is, what your net profit is, and your current cash balance. If you got these 5 numbers down, you will make better decisions than you make today. And you also, of course, have to understand what each of those categories are. And that's a great question for the ask at nextstepcfo.net, by the way. So next, winning business owners understand what their financial statements are telling them. So the 3 key financial statements are the P&L, profit and loss statement, the balance sheet, and the cash flow statement. And when I'm in a room of small business owners and I ask how many people look at their P&L at least once a month, I can be guaranteed that less than half raise their hand. And when I ask how many people look at their balance sheet once a month, forget that. Less than 10% of the room raises their hand. And when I ask how many people look at their cash flow statement once a month, where cash is king and cash is the lifeblood of a business, I might get 1 person to raise their hand. And it's being, cash is the lifeblood of a business, and it's being totally neglected. So the good news is you don't have to know how to read financial statements, but you do need to understand the story behind them and how those financials will guide you to make the best decisions. And if you need help understanding your financial statements, give us a call. We are strategic chief financial officers, and go get that help that you need before this downturn intensifies. So let me share a story that illustrates the power of financial clarity during difficult economic times. I worked with a manufacturing company during the 2020 pandemic shutdown, and while their competitors were making panic-based decisions, we had a clear understanding of their cash runway, their break-even point, and their most profitable product lines. What a great start, by the way, that was, just to get that clarity. And this clarity allowed them to make strategic choices, temporarily suspending their least profitable lines while doubling down on the highest margin products. They negotiated with suppliers from a position of knowledge rather than fear. They restructured rather than simply cutting. The result, while their industry contracted by 30%, they experienced a 15% revenue dip, but maintained their profitability. So it's not necessarily that you're going to have during the bad economy that your sales are necessarily going to go up. You're just going to manage the revenue that you get better, and it's not going to go down as much as it would have if you didn't take some of the positions that we're talking about today. And by the time the economy began recovering, they had actually gained market share. So here's a question I'm just getting now from a listener. You mentioned the importance of knowing your numbers, but many business owners find financial statements overwhelming. I agree with that. What's a simple first step that they can take to gain financial clarity? Well, first of all, know your vital five, and then block out 2 hours with your bookkeeper or CFO or accountant with a specific goal of understanding just three of those numbers: your gross profit margin, your monthly break-even point, and your current cash runway. Now, gross profit margin tells you how much of each sale is available to cover overhead and generate profit. Got to understand that's one of the vital five. Your break-even point tells you exactly how much revenue you need each month to cover all expenses. So I'm going a little deeper here beyond the vital five, but it's important to understand your break-even. And your cash runway shows you how long you could survive if revenue drops significantly. So that's the reason why I want you to know your current cash balance, but I also want you to know your runway. So just understanding these three numbers plus your vital five will put you ahead of 80% of business owners and provide the foundation for making confident decisions rather than fear-based decisions during a downturn. Here's another question. For business owners who want to maintain a visionary mindset despite economic headwinds, what practical habits have you seen work best? Well, I recommend implementing what I call a dual focus system. So each week, dedicate specific time to both defensive and offensive planning. Maybe Monday mornings for reviewing cash flow and managing costs. Those are the defensive elements. And Thursday afternoons for innovative and growth strategies, the offensive elements. And so this structured approach ensures that you don't get consumed by either mindset. Also create visionary council, a visionary council. So this is a small group of forward-thinking business owners who meet monthly to share opportunities that they're seeing. I fully recommend that. That's a great idea. And during downturns, we tend to isolate, which reinforces negative thinking and damages our mindset. Intentional connection with growth-minded peers counteracts this tendency and keeps your thinking expansive even when the economy is contracting. I call that optimizing your environment, by the way. And so before I continue this discussion, we're going to take a 90-second break.
Hey there, business owners. Let me ask you something. Are you tired of blending in with your competitors? Frustrated with slow growth and slim margins? Well, I've got news for you. Everything you've ever learned about growing your business is wrong. But don't worry. I'm here to let you in on a secret weapon, your position of market dominance. It's what sets you apart, makes you irreplaceable, and has customers lining up at your door. My name is Michael Barbarita from Next Step CFO. I know what you're thinking. Sounds great, Michael, but how do I find my position of market dominance? Well, that's exactly why we've created our game-changing implementation program called Next Step to Market Dominance. In just 90 days, we'll guide you step by step to a position of market dominance by uncovering your unique strengths that competitors can't touch, by crafting a message that resonates deeply with your ideal customer, by building a strategy that turns you into the go-to expert in your field. Now, this isn't theory. These are battle-tested strategies that have helped businesses like yours double, triple, and quadruple their revenue. Don't let another quarter go by struggling to stand out. It's time to dominate your market, period. Go to nextstepcfo.net/contact, fill out the form, and in the message section, put the word dominate. Or call us at 781-326-3822. That's nextstepcfo.net/contact, or call us at 781-326-3822.
Welcome back. And remember, you can catch all the recordings at powerfulbusinessstrategies.com. So now let's dive into that second critical component of thriving during economic downturns, using powerful financials tools to make data-driven decisions while your competition is guessing. The single most powerful tool for navigating economic uncertainty is a business and cash flow forecast. Why? Because this forecast helps you understand the outcome and ramifications of your decisions before you make them. For example, how many of you have ever been surprised by income taxes? Well, if you have a business and cash flow forecast, you will never be surprised by tax liabilities again, because you'll always know what your projected net profit looks like. And you'll always have an idea of what your cash flow situation is. And CEOs of the best companies are never surprised by taxes or anything else for that matter, because they all have a business and cash flow forecast. The bottom line is, if you want to thrive in economic downturns, the number one tool of winning business owners is the business and cash flow forecast. There's a reason why all venture capitalists and all boards of directors demand business and cash flow forecasts. And let me explain what a business and cash flow forecast includes. It's not just a simple revenue projection. A comprehensive forecast includes projected monthly income statement, P&L. Second, a projected balance sheet. It's a professional forecast is not a professional forecast if there's no projected monthly balance sheet. Why? Well, one of the items that are listed on the balance sheet is cash. And as you know, that's one of the vital five. So, and it'll also show you how your assets and liabilities evolve. And then, of course, you need a projected cash flow statement. And then a scenario analysis. So what is that? Well, you want to know things like, well, what happens if your sales are up 10%? What happens if they're down 20%? What does cash flow look like? If I make this decision, what does my business model look like? So the power of this forecast is that it allows you to test decisions before making them. Want to know if you can afford to maintain your marketing spend during a downturn? We'll run it through the forecast. Considering whether to invest in new equipment, the forecast will show you the impact. Wondering how long you could survive if revenue dropped 30%? The forecast will answer that. Here's a question that I'm getting. Yep. There's a question from a listener. Michael, creating a business and cash flow forecast sounds complicated. Is this something that small business owners can do themselves, or they need professional help? Well, while there are templates and software available, I really, this is a bias, but I strongly recommend getting professional help to set up your forecast. The structure and assumptions are critical, because it's one of those things like with computers, it's garbage in, garbage out type of thing. And so I can't overstate the importance of scenario planning during economic downturns. Most businesses operate with a single set of projections, which creates a false sense of certainty. Smart businesses develop at least 3 scenarios. Best case, if the downturn is milder than expected or your business is minimally affected. Expected case, and that's your most likely scenario based on current information. And then worst case, a severe scenario that tests your business resilience. In my experience with working with business owners as their CFO, they always like to see the worst case. And because anything better than that, they know they can survive. If they can survive the worst case, they can survive the expected and best case. So for each scenario, identify the trigger point, specific metrics that would indicate you're moving from one scenario to another, and predetermined actions you'll take when those triggers are hit. For example, one of my clients in the retail business created these clear trigger points. If sales decline less than 10%, maintain all operations, but optimize marketing spend. If sales decline 10 to 20%, reduce operating hours and renegotiate vendor terms. If sales decline more than 20%, close underperforming locations and restructure debt. Having these decisions mapped out in advance allow them to act decisively rather than emotionally when conditions change. That's so important. Any of your forward thinking relative to these economic downturns, while it's not raining, is just excellent strategy. Beyond the business and cash flow forecast, winning business owners implement rigorous cash management during downturns. And this includes a 13-week rolling cash flow, which is a detailed week-by-week projection of all inflows and outflows, updated weekly. A cash acceleration strategies for systematic approaches to convert sales to cash faster. Think about that. You want to reduce the number of days in your cash conversion cycle from start to finish, from the start of your process to the end. What are the average number of days it takes you from the start of your process to the end of the process when the customer finally pays you? Cash conversion protocols that define guidelines for managing outflows. Cash trigger points. These are specific cash levels that trigger predetermined action, as I mentioned earlier. I worked with a service business that implemented these systems just before the 2020 pandemic hit. But while their competitors were frantic trying to figure out their cash position, my client had clear visibility into their cash flow and had already activated their conservation protocols. And this allowed them to make calm, strategic decisions rather than panicked reactions. Let's also talk about the importance of margin management during economic downturns. When revenue is under pressure, understanding and protecting your profit margins becomes even more critical. See, many business owners make the fatal mistake of cutting prices to maintain volume during downturns. While this might temporarily maintain revenue or maybe even increase it a bit, it can devastate the profitability and cash flow. Instead, winning business owners focus on value-based pricing. We've mentioned that a lot before, emphasizing the unique value that they provide rather than competing on price. Second, product service mix optimization, focusing on high margin offerings. We talked about that a little earlier. Strategic discounting. If discounts are necessary, applying them strategically then versus across the board, just in certain spots. Cost structure alignment, ensuring costs flex appropriately with revenue changes. One manufacturing client implemented a margin management system that required any proposed price reduction to be accompanied by a corresponding cost reduction plan. This was brilliant. This simple rule prevented the knee-jerk discounting that had eroded their profitability during previous downturns. Another critical financial strategy for downturns is capital allocation discipline. When resources are constrained, where do you invest those resources to become exponentially more important? So winning business owners develop clear capital allocation frameworks that prioritize investments based on return on investment, strategic alignment, risk profile, and payback period. They also regularly review all areas of the business using zero-based thinking. Knowing what I know now, would I still make this investment or hire this person or offer this product? Got a question from the listener. You've emphasized cash management during downturns. What are some specific cash acceleration strategies that businesses can implement quickly? Well, there are several. First, implement upfront deposits or payment terms for new customers during downturns. Customers are more willing to accept these terms to secure reliable vendors. Second, offer early payment discounts. For example, 2% off if paid within 10 days. Third, you can streamline your invoicing process. Many businesses are surprisingly slow to invoice. That always baffles me, but they are. And that delays cash flow unnecessarily. Fourth, segment your collections approach. Use different strategies for different types of customers rather than a one-size-fits-all approach. And then finally, consider factoring receivables if you have creditworthy customers but need the cash sooner. I've seen businesses improve cash flow by 15 to 20% in 60 days with these strategies, which can be the difference between struggling and thriving during a downturn. Another question, what about businesses that are already facing cash flow challenges as they enter the economic downturn? Is it too late for them to implement these strategies? No, it's not. It's never too late, but the approach needs to be more intensive. For businesses already experiencing cash flow pressure, I recommend what I call cash flow CPR. This is a 3-step emergency protocol. First, control the bleeding. Immediately identify the largest cash drains. Secondly, prioritize ruthlessly. Create a tiered system for all expenses and payments, separating the must-pays from the can-waits, because there's always a can-wait list. Third, restructure quickly. Proactively reach out to vendors, landlords, and lenders to negotiate terms before missing payments. That's important. The key is transparency and communication. Stakeholders respond much better to proactive restructuring than to surprises. I've seen businesses on the brink of insolvency turn around in 90 days using this approach, but it requires immediate action and complete financial transparency. So before I continue this discussion, we're going to take a 90-second break.
Hey there, business owners. Let me ask you something. Are you tired of blending in with your competitors? Frustrated with slow growth and slim margins? Well, I've got news for you. Everything you've ever learned about growing your business is wrong. But don't worry. I'm here to let you in on a secret weapon, your position of market dominance. It's what sets you apart, makes you irreplaceable, and has customers lining up at your door. My name is Michael Barbarita from Next Step CFO. I know what you're thinking. Sounds great, Michael, but how do I find my position of market dominance? Well, that's exactly why we've created our game-changing implementation program called Next Step to Market Dominance. In just 90 days, we'll guide you step by step to a position of market dominance by uncovering your unique strengths that competitors can't touch, by crafting a message that resonates deeply with your ideal customer, by building a strategy that turns you into the go-to expert in your field. Now, this isn't theory. These are battle-tested strategies that have helped businesses like yours double, triple, and quadruple their revenue. Don't let another quarter go by struggling to stand out. It's time to dominate your market, period. Go to nextstepcfo.net/contact, fill out the form, and in the message section, put the word dominate. Or call us at 781-326-3822. That's nextstepcfo.net/contact, or call us at 781-326-3822.
Welcome back. Now let's explore the third critical component of thriving during economic downturns, and that's implementing the right business strategies that your competition isn't doing. Did you know that 95% of business and financial strategies used today are identical to competitors? They don't work. Particularly, they don't work even in good times. So you can just imagine how they're going to work in bad economic times. So during economic downturns, the problem becomes even more pronounced as businesses retreat to conventional wisdom, cutting across the board, halting innovation, and essentially trying to wait out the storm. Instead, winning business owners implement strategic approaches that position them to capture market share while others retreat. And let's explore those strategies. Every business should have a position of market dominance that becomes even more powerful during economic downturns. This isn't branding. It's a clear articulation of how you solve critical problems that your market faces in a way that no one else does. And there's ways to create that if you've heard our commercials. During downturns, customer problems and pain points often shift, and smart business owners quickly adapt their position of market dominance to address these changing concerns. For example, during the 2008 financial crisis, a luxury retailer shifted their position from exclusive designer collections to investment pieces that retain their value, directly addressing their customers' new financial concerns. Similar to that, during the early pandemic, a restaurant rapidly pivoted from positioning as a premium dining experience to restaurant quality family meals that are safely delivered, responding directly to their customers' new priorities around safety and home-centered living. I'm getting an early question on this in this segment. Repositioning sounds good in theory, but many business owners worry about confusing their market or diluting their brand. How can they adapt their positioning without losing their identity? Well, that's a very insightful question. The key is to evolve your positioning rather than completely reinventing it. Think of it as highlighting a different facet of your existing value proposition rather than creating a brand new one. The core of who you are should remain consistent, but what aspects that you emphasize should shift to align your customers' changing priorities. For example, let me give this example. A high-end fitness studio had always focused on transformation and results, but during economic uncertainty, they emphasized the stress reduction and the mental health benefits of their approach. Same service, same values, but a different emphasis that resonated with their members' current needs. So it's just a shift in the thinking of the same product. Second, winning business owners implement a compelling offer strategy that addresses the specific concerns customers have during economic downturns. See, during uncertain times, customers become more risk averse and scrutinize their spending more carefully. Your offer needs to overcome these heightened objections. So effective downturn offer strategies include risk reversal, which is where the seller in the transaction takes most or all the risk, value-based bundles, packaging your core offer with additional valuable components at slightly higher price, but delivering substantially more value. Remember, if value is higher than price, they'll buy. Segmented offerings. That's creating good, better, best options that allow customers to select based on their current financial situation. By the way, these are all strategies that we've covered in previous shows. Recurring revenue models, shifting from large one-time purchases to smaller recurring payments that feel more manageable during uncertain times. So all great. Third, winning business owners implement strategic cost management rather than arbitrary cost cutting. The general mindset of business owners in economic downturns is to cut everything, but you can't cut your way to success. Use this formula for cutting expenses. You cut the expense if the expense doesn't help you acquire a customer, if it doesn't help you retain a customer, if the expense doesn't increase the long-term value of a customer, and if the expense doesn't help deliver your product or service to a customer. And after you apply these rules to expenses, look for investments in the 3 A's. Assets that produce revenue, amazing people to help you scale, and automation to leverage time. Success in economic downturns is not defined by those who spend less. It's defined by those who spend smart. And let me give you an example. During the 2008 recession, a manufacturer was facing significant pressure to cut costs. And rather than implementing across-the-board reductions, he categorized all expenses using the framework I just shared. This revealed that they were actually underspending in areas that directly impacted customer acquisition and retention, while overspending on internal systems that didn't directly touch the customer. By reallocating, not just reducing, but by reallocating their spending, they were able to reduce costs by 14% while actually increasing their marketing impact and customer service capabilities. The result was that they emerged from the recession with higher market share and stronger customer loyalty than they had going in. Fourth, economic downturns create unique opportunities to upgrade your talent pool. While most businesses implement hiring freezes or layoffs during downturns, visionary companies selectively hire exceptional talent that suddenly becomes available as other companies contract. I've seen businesses completely change their capabilities by strategically adding just one or two key people during downturns. People they could have never attracted during stronger economic times. And this might be an experienced salesperson from a larger competitor or an operations leader who can really drive efficiency. And the key is being selective and focusing on roles that directly drive either revenue growth or margin improvement, and positions that more than pay for themselves, even in these challenging times. Fifth, downturns offer unprecedented opportunities to forge strategic partnerships and alliances as businesses look for ways to maintain their market presence with reduced resources. Partnerships become increasingly attractive. Here's one question from a listener. You've shared several strategies for thriving during downturns. If a business owner could only implement one or two of these immediately, what would you recommend prioritizing? Well, if I had to narrow it down, let's say to just two strategies, I'd recommend focusing on financial clarity and cash management, specifically implementing the 13-week cash flow forecast that we talked about. This gives you visibility and confidence to make strategic decisions rather than reactive ones. And secondly, I would prioritize your position of market dominance and your compelling offer to align with your customers' changing priorities during the downturn. So as we wrap up today's discussion on thriving during economic downturns, let's summarize the key strategies that we've covered for turning challenging economic times into your greatest opportunity. First, we explored the foundational mindset needed to make strategic decisions while others panic. We discussed how winning business owners start with clarity about their personal goals, understanding exactly why their business exists and what it needs to provide them and their families. This personal clarity drives better business decisions, especially during turbulent times. We also emphasized the importance of maintaining a visionary mindset rather than succumbing to scarcity thinking. Economic downturns don't create or destroy opportunity. They merely transfer it from the unprepared to the prepared. By focusing on long-term impact rather than short-term fear, you position your business to capture opportunities that others miss. I know that's difficult, but really, you've got to focus on that. Second, we covered the critical financial tools that provide clarity when uncertainty is highest. The business and cash flow forecast gives you the ability to test decisions before you make them, while scenario planning prepares you for the multiple what-ifs. We stress the importance of knowing your vital five numbers: sales, gross profit percent, net profit, and your current cash balance. We also discussed rigorous cash management systems, margin protection strategies, and disciplined capital allocation, all of which become exponentially more important during economic contractions. And third, we explored specific business strategies that successful companies implement during downturns, from creating or adapting your position of market dominance to address changing customer concerns, to creating compelling offers that overcome heightened risk aversion. We covered strategic cost management that focuses resources on customer impacting activities while reducing non-essential expenses. And we also discussed how downturns create unique opportunities to upgrade your talent and form strategic partnerships that allow you to maintain or even expand your market presence while sharing costs. Remember, successful navigation of economic downturns isn't about luck. It's about preparation, clarity, and strategic action. By implementing the strategies we discussed today, you can position your business not just to survive, but to thrive when others are struggling. Keep thinking differently and act boldly. Today, we're all facing the call to adapt and to make decisions based on the numbers. Those who do will make business a lot less terrifying. Those who do will achieve their number one goal. Those who do will thrive in economic downturns. There are more millionaires and billionaires minted during economic downturns than any other time period in history. The only question is, are you prepared to be the next one? To get a copy of the book, Powerful Business Strategy, simply go to our website, www.nextstepcfo.net. It's totally complimentary. And until next Monday at noon Eastern Time, for Chucky Obio, my name is Michael Barbarita. And remember, don't keep doing what your competition is doing.
You have been listening to Powerful Business Strategies, finding out that everything you ever learned about growing your business is wrong. Tune in next week and every week at noon Eastern Time on W4CY Radio with your host, Michael Barbarita of Next Step CFO and moderator Chucky Obio.